3 spine-chilling true hidden camera horror stories revealed. Sinister secrets exposed. Sarah was in the thick of it, juggling a nursing career and 2 small children under the roof of her suburban home in Maplewood. What was once a peaceful neighborhood now felt like a suffocating trap of isolation. After a grueling shift at the hospital, she came home to silence, the kind of peaceful lull that would normally comfort her, but instead, it gnawed at her a warning. After an unsettling week, she did the unthinkable. She installed hidden cameras around her house. The intent was simple: catch anyone who dared enter when she wasn't there. But what she saw during those first weeks gave her no reason to worry. Just the mundane dance of her children playing and sleeping. Everything changed one bleak Friday night. Tired, her muscles heavy with fatigue, Sarah decided to review the footage. As she scrubbed through video after video of her children giggling and sleeping, a flicker of movement in the backyard caught her eye. She squinted hard, her heart racing as she replayed the clip. There he was, Mr. Thompson, their well-liked retired neighbor, wandering through her backyard. It was nothing at first. He seemed to be enjoying the night air, until, with a chill crawling down her spine, she saw him leaning near her children's window, softly whispering to them as they slept. Panic exploded in her chest. Her once-beloved neighborhood began to morph into a nightmare. This was not normal. She couldn't breathe as fear snaked its way around her throat. Adrenaline surged, and she called her brother. "Mike, you need to see this," she stammered. He arrived, skeptical yet intrigued, eyeing the footage with disdain. "Come on, Sarah. You're just exhausted," he shrugged, dismissing her frantic energy. But Sarah was unable to shake her gut feeling. Something dark lurked just beyond her sight. Determined, Sarah did some digging. She searched online for anything missing persons reports, old neighbors who had vanished. The search pulled her into a web of chilling tales. Neighbors gone missing, whispers of Mr. Thompson's past that no one seemed to recall. The disjointed tales painted a brutal picture. Night after night, as shadows loomed inside her home, she sensed something shifting. Toys moved from one place to another. Doors creaked open slowly, just enough for a cold breeze to slip through her home, felt alive and disconcerting. Chill after chill, she felt a gaping distance between who she thought she was and who she'd become. A terrified mother on the verge of madness. She watched the screens, every moment a dance of horror, bringing her closer to a confrontation she dreaded yet knew was coming. And then, just as tension peaked, an unexpected flicker dimmed the lights. As she rushed to check the cameras again, her hands trembled, breath held in panic. A new video had appeared, just one. She clicked on it with quaking fingers, and her breath caught as the grainy image materialized. Her children sleeping peacefully, and behind them, through the window, was Mr. Thompson's face, his eyes glinting with something sinister. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her heart thundered a beat of terror in her chest. What would he do next? Instinct kicked in. She could no longer ignore those invasive whispers under the guise of friendly neighborliness. As the shadows flickered outside, a new sense of dread filled her veins. Was Mr. Thompson watching her? What horrors waited now that this game was afoot? The suburban facade of safety had cracked, setting the stage for a terrifying showdown. Questioning her sanity but armed with a mother-esque courage, Sarah prepared for the confrontation. But little did she know, the real horror was only just beginning as she steeled herself for the confrontation that awaited in the darkness. The night settled into a heavy silence, the only sound the occasional rustle of leaves against the old oak trees in Sarah's yard. Each passing moment felt like an eternity, stretching her anxiety to its breaking point. She clutched her phone, the screen alive with images of her children sleeping, oblivious to the creeping shadows outside. With quick, shallow breaths, she scanned the familiar rooms through the hidden cameras. The glow of their small night lights cast alarming shadows, creating distorted shapes that danced along the walls, as if mocking her isolation. Adrenaline boiled within her as thoughts spiraled. What did Mr. Thompson want? Her fingers hovered over the camera icons, desperately clicking through the grainy footage again and again, as if somehow the answer would reveal itself. In one clip, a flicker drew her gaze. Mr. Thompson again. He lingered just at the edge of the patio, barely 5 feet from the window, flashing his unsettling smile. Her stomach twisted. His eyes were lifeless yet gleamed with a dangerous curiosity as he seemed to search for her. Without thinking, Sarah shot up from the couch. She had to confront him, had to know why he was targeting her family. But as she approached the door, a heat flushed through her. The front porch light flickered ominously, sending pulses of anxiety racing through her. What if he was lurking outside, waiting for her to make a move, expecting her to react? Each creak of the floorboards beneath her felt like a countdown, a warning that she was nearing something sinister. Standing at the door, she took a deep breath, determination racing through her veins. She flung it open, adrenaline drowning her fears. The empty front yard stared back with an eerie stillness. Moonlight illuminated the grass, yet its glow only heightened the shadows shifting along the edges. "Mr. Thompson, are you out there?" she called, her voice trembling yet firm. Silence answered. A thought pierced through her. Could he have slipped back inside after watching her children? The very idea sent icy fingers along her spine. She snapped her head back toward the living room windows, scanning for any signs of disturbance. But everything appeared untouched, normal even. Just as she exhaled, a slow rasp echoed from the side of the house. Every muscle in her body tensed. She turned sharply and dashed toward the sound. The narrow alley between the homes led to the back of the house, and her heart raced. Clenching the baseball bat she had grabbed from the hallway, she pushed through the narrow passage. Shadows flickered around her, hiding what she dreaded might be waiting at the end. "Mr. Thompson," she shouted again, her voice cracking now. And then there it was. A figure stood silhouetted against the faint glow of a streetlight. Mr. Thompson, his posture unnaturally still. He turned slowly to face her, his smile wide and unsettling, the glint in his eye darker than before. "Sarah," he cooed, voice silky and mocking. "I've been waiting for you." Fear twisted like a knife in her gut. She felt it, an unshakable sense of dread clawing its way to the surface. What had begun as innocent curiosity had morphed into a sinister game, and she was caught right in the middle. "Get away from my house," she shouted again, raising her bat. She moved a step closer, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he took a step toward her, still grinning, but now there was a hunger in his eyes. "You don't know what's going to happen next, do you?" he taunted, the air vibrating with something ominous. And in that moment, the backyard lights blinked out, plunging her into darkness. A scream hung in her throat, but it never came. The ground felt unsteady under her feet as she spun around, hearing rustling all around her. Every instinct told her to run, but where? Just then, as hope flickered dimly, a low, mocking sound erupted behind her. "What do you think you'll find in the dark?" His voice dripped with malice. Her heart raced, terror pulsing through her veins, as she realized the worst. The nightmare had only just begun. But as the shadows deepened, one question pierced through her mind like a thunderstrike. Who else was in the darkness with her? A sinking dread rippled through her as she realized the stakes had risen. Was there anywhere left to hide? Breathless, Sarah pressed her back against the cool brick wall of the alley, her pulse pounding in her ears. The laughter dissolved into the night, leaving behind a chilling absence that chilled her skin. She could barely comprehend her thoughts. Had he called to someone? Was he not alone? Wood splintered beneath someone's foot, and she felt her insides tighten. The space was closing in, shadows creeping toward her like a hungry beast in search of prey. "Mom," a distant voice echoed, piercing through the dark. Her heart leaped. It was Ben. Her son's voice was faint, but clear in her mind. The thought of him and his sister sleeping soundly in their rooms, unaware of the nightmare unfolding outside, propelled her into action. "Ben, stay inside," she shouted, but it felt feeble, a desperate plea against the horror stalking them. Mr. Thompson's laughter echoed again, rich with malicious delight. "They shouldn't be awake, Sarah." Not yet. She shuddered at his words, panic seeping into every fiber of her being. The rustling intensified, sparks flickering from the dark corners. Her mind raced. If he was here to harm her children, she felt as if she could shatter under the weight of what that would mean. Muffled movement emanated nearby, and suddenly, the beam of a flashlight cut through the night, illuminating Mr. Thompson's silhouette. The light flickered, momentarily exposing his twisted grin, shadow dancing across the walls of the alley. "Let us have some fun, shall we?" he taunted, raising his arms as if inviting the darkness in for a dance. Frantic, Sarah grasped her bat tighter, her knuckles turning white. She had to get back to the house. She had to protect them. Breathe. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but she could not abandon her children. As she edged away, her foot caught on something, a loose stone, perhaps. She stumbled, the bat slipping just briefly from her sweaty grasp. The noise erupted like a gunshot in the silence, piercing the air. She froze, her heart in her throat. Had been heard? Suddenly, the flashlight beam spun toward her. She winced, shrinking back against the bricks, praying for shadows to envelop her. "Sarah," Mr. Thompson called, voice teasing, "are we playing hide and seek? How fun." With blurred vision, she spotted a flicker of movement, more shadows emerging from the darkness. Heart racing, she fought against the feeling of being trapped. They were not just Mr. Thompson's shadows. They came with a new evil, a second pair of glowing eyes now glimmered among the darkness. The flashlight beam widened, illuminating more figures creeping forward. Was it his crew? Panic engulfed her as she realized these weren't just shadows, they were a gathering of unholy malice. "Sarah, want to you come out to play?" They echoed, their voices intertwining like a haunting chorus. She swallowed hard, her mind racing. It was a trap, an ambush born of calculated terror. She glanced toward the house, wondering if she could make it back in time. But there was no clear path. "Run, Mom," Ben shouted from behind the safety of the closed window. "Get inside." She couldn't let fear take him too. She steadied herself and pushed off the wall, heart lurching as she bolted toward her home. But as she sprinted, a hand shot out from the shadows, grasping her wrist with a grip like iron. She gasped, jerking against the hold, her breath hitching in her throat. It was Mr. Thompson, his face twisted into a malicious grin. "I told you I've been waiting for you," he hissed, his voice low and threatening. Struggling, she managed to pull free, stumbling into the open yard just as the porch lights flickered back to life. Flashes of light broke up the relentless dark, and she hurled herself toward the door. But the door, her safe haven, was ajar, swinging lightly in the stillness. Floatingly out of control, dread washed over her as she seized the handle controlling the entry to her home. "Mom," Ben cried again, terror echoing in his voice. The door creaked ominously as she peered inside, and the warm light spilled out into the twilight, but something felt off. The familiar sounds, the whirring of the refrigerator, the distant hum of the TV, had all fallen silent. With dread anchoring her feet to the ground, she froze. Sarah, the voice that called her name, wasn't her son's. It was a whisper entwined with the wind, and it was inviting. What? No? Who was waiting for her inside? A cold shiver snaked down Sarah's spine as the whisper curled around her like a fog, heavy and suffocating. She felt an overwhelming urge to retreat, to run back into the night rather than face whatever lay within the house. The air was thick with tension, and the stale scent of fear mingled with the musty darkness. "Mom, please." Ben's voice rose again, laced with desperation. But that other voice, it lingered, sweet yet sickening, a deceptive caress that promised safety even as it choked her with dread. She tightened her grip on the bat, the wood cool against her clammy palms, knuckles straining against the weight of her fear. "Ben," she shouted, almost pleading, forcing herself to take a step forward into the threshold. The light flickered above, then steadied, illuminating the familiar hallway that had suddenly transformed into a mysterious void. A place of refuge now felt like a trap. "Come in," Sarah continued, softly mocking. "Your children want you." The shadows danced along the walls, playful, as if taunting her with every step. She peered deeper into the house, searching for the source of that insidious voice. But it lingered just beyond her comprehension, curling around corners and skirting through doorways. As she moved further inside, the door creaked behind her, swinging shut with a finality that rang loud in her ears. The house felt alive, its every creak and whisper echoing her heartbeat. She stepped onto the wooden floor, its surface cold and unwelcoming. hearing a faint thump from upstairs that froze her blood. "Ben?" Her voice trembled as she called. "Mom, where are you?" His voice faintly echoed back, trembling, thick with fear that cut through her like glass. Panic surged anew, and she dashed toward the staircase, each step filled with an uneven dread. The walls felt narrower, closing in on her as she climbed, shadows flickering like restless spirits. Another thump echoed, this time a scream lodged in her throat. She reached the landing, her breath hitching. A door at the end of the hallway was ajar, a wavering light spilling forth. Her heart thudded in her chest like a caged bird desperate for freedom. "Ben!" She screamed again, but no response came. With every muscle wound tight, she approached the open door. The inviting glow beckoned her closer, but there was something sinister in its warmth. She peered inside, and what she saw made her blood run cold. The room was empty, no faint sign of movement, just a disheveled bed and overturned toys scattered about like remnants of a forgotten war. "Mom." The voice was near now, almost inside her head. The playful lilt twisted into something more sinister. "It's just a game," with brisk determination. She stepped back, heart racing as she turned to run. Suddenly, the air thickened, her brain screamed with danger. "Foolish, Sarah," echoed multiple voices in unison, a chilling symphony that stopped her in her tracks. "There are no games here." A cold flash raced down her spine as a figure emerged from the shadows at the base of the stairs, a silhouette nearly indistinguishable against the darkness. It was him, Mr. Thompson. Only now, he seemed different, surrounded by an eerie glow, standing with ghastly confidence. "Let us finish what we started." She had moments to react, terror igniting adrenaline as she lunged toward the nearest escape, but the shadows had begun to swirl ominously around her. They conspired against her, blurring her vision, distorting time itself. "Mom, help!" Ben's voice again, but it drifted further, dissolved into the air like smoke. She could barely breathe. Mommy echoed that inviting whisper, sultry yet harrowing. "You've come home." Panic clawed at her chest as the walls seemed to pulse, the house shaking, as if it were alive and hungry for her. But another sound hit her ears, then a scraping noise, slow and deliberate, just beyond the edge of her senses. What was crawling out of the darkness? And then it came, slithering toward her, hungry eyes glinting like shards of ice. Had something been waiting for her all along? This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The creature emerged from the darkness, sleek and serpentine, its eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. Sarah's heart thundered like a war drum as it inched closer, each movement a grotesque dance of predation. She stumbled back, colliding hard with the wall behind her. The impact rattled her senses, but she had no time to dwell on the pain. "Ben!" she cried, desperation fueling her voice. The creature paused, a flicker of interest darting across its sharp features, as if her cries had stirred something deep within its primal instinct. A shift in the air sent icy chills through her veins. It was a mocking laugh, a chorus of twisted amusement that echoed through the hall and wrapped tightly around her throat. Every laugh was a reminder that she was not alone. Something in the house feasted upon her fear. "Come closer," the voices taunted in unison, blending into a cacophony that seemed to rise from the very floorboards. Sarah clutched the bat tighter. It felt so powerless against this dark, sinister force. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, revealing the outline of Ben. He was standing, wide-eyed, behind the creature. Relief flooded through her for a moment, but it quickly morphed into dread as she realized he was rooted, unable to move. His mouth opened as if to scream, but no sound escaped. Just then, the creature turned its attention towards him, its movements fluid, predatory. "No!" Sarah's scream ripped through the air, raw and primal. She lunged forward, her feet clumsy and her heart racing, as the creature darted between her and Ben, like a shadow cast by the moon. "Mommy, I can't move." Ben's eyes were wide, filled with terror, distress bubbling in his voice. Sarah's breath hitched, a truth burned in her gut. Whatever held her son was also controlling her. The stench of decay filled the air as she swung the bat at the creature. It recoiled, hissing, its forked tongue flicking out menacingly. She saw it then, a glimmer beneath its scales, a small, glistening vial tied to its neck, pulsating with a macabre glow. "Stop playing," she yelled, feeling the shadows close around her, pressing against her with a crushing force. Let him go? The creature's eyes narrowed, calculating. The whispers rose again, insistent, taunting her resolve. You could bring him home, where he truly belongs. What do you mean? Her voice trembled, fear and anger churning in her chest. You think I'd do anything for you? But the way it swayed, the way it smiled, or at least, she thought it smiled, sent another wave of dread over her. Finish the game, the voices encouraged from the shadows, echoing through the house, as if it were alive, buzzing with dark energy. Join him. In an instant, as the creature lunged, she felt a surge of power. Driven by instinct, she swung with all her strength, crashing the bat into its side. The creature screamed a high, piercing wail that shattered the oppressive atmosphere, forcing the shadows to recoil and shrink away for just a breath. But then, a surge of darkness swallowed the ground beneath her, causing her to stumble once more. She felt herself being pulled back, her feet slipping, the abyss calling her name. Mom, save me. Ben's cries pierced her heart, raw, relentless. She reached back for him, extending her arm, but the pull intensified. Right before her fingers brushed against his, a new malevolence thickened the air, one that smelled of ash and fire and goodbyes. The lights flickered once more, and suddenly there was silence. But not the silence of safety. It was the kind that felt heavy, pregnant with the unknown, as if the house had taken a breath, waiting to unleash unspeakable horrors. And then, with icy dread gnawing at the back of her mind, Sarah knew she was not just fighting for her son. Something was growing within her, something dark and terrible. Was she becoming part of the house? The walls echoed with that mocking laughter, drowning out her thoughts as the shadows crept closer. The door behind her creaked, promising an exit, but what if it led somewhere worse than the darkness? With her heart racing, she was left with one question. What kind of monster was she destined to become? The shadows curled and twisted as Sarah's world tilted on its axis. Her mind raced, grappling with the realization that something ancient and terrible was awakening inside her. The laughter reverberated like a dying echo, wrapping around her consciousness and seeping into her veins. She shook her head, desperate to clear her thoughts, but the laughter only grew louder, seemingly coming from all corners of the house. Ben, she shouted again, the word feeling like a brittle promise against the hall's overwhelming darkness. The walls absorbed her voice, as if mocking her, letting nothing escape. Ben's cries had faded into a haunting whisper, lost somewhere in that suffocating void. Her heart thudded, heavy and relentless. Panic clawed at her throat, threatening to choke her. She could sense the creature, lurking, waiting, its glowing eyes fixated on her, weighing her intentions. It was still there, breathing in the darkness, drawing strength from her fear. Sarah took a shaky step back, her foot tripping over something soft and cold. She looked down and recoiled, the remains of old toys scattered across the floor, their paint chipped and faces forever frozen in looks of terror. A chill ran through her. Were these remnants of lost children? Leave us alone, she cried, a burst of defiance pushing through the fear. But the air thickened, vibrating with sinister energy, drowning her words in its dark waves. In that moment, she saw flashes of faces within the shadows of the house, hollow eyes gazing at her in silent despair. Children like Ben, caught in this sickening game. Join him, let us come home, the voices whispered again, seductive and sinister, pulling her closer to the edge of surrender. She clenched the bat tightly, the only shield between her and the abyss. With instinct guiding her, Sarah turned the bat towards the door. If she could break through, maybe she could shatter the grip this place had on her. A surge of adrenaline coursed through her veins as she charged forward, swinging with all her might. The bat connected with the door, splintering wood and sending shrapnel flying. The echo of her strike reverberated through the corridors, mingling with the creature's hiss. She felt something shift in the air. What she assumed was freedom now felt like another trap. As the door cracked, the darkness pressed against her, a wall of icy fingers clawing at her skin, forcing doubt into her mind. Shadows pulsed here, alive and hungry. She glanced back at Ben, wishing she could see him, reach him. Desperation sang through her. But the door wouldn't budge. It moaned in pain as if it had its own heartbeat, its resilience intertwined with the house. The creature slithered closer, its breath hot against her skin. It was an ancient predator, feeding off the remnants of despair. "Mommy, please." Ben's voice came sharper this time, piercing through the fog of terror. In that clarion call, Sarah felt a flicker of warmth, hope pressing through the encroaching darkness. Her heart swelled, demanding action. Wait. A sudden thought struck her. What if the vial? Maybe it held the solution, a key to sever their bond with this place. Her eyes were drawn to the glimmer at the creature's neck. It was pulsating, alive, a heartbeat in harmony with the house. The creature lunged, but she sidestepped just in time, golden rage surging through her veins. Let him go? She swung the bat again, aiming for the vial. It was prone vulnerable as its eyes widened unexpectedly. The shadows erupted around them, amplifying her cries into a thunderous echo through the corridors. Could she really break the bond? Or would she just feed the darkness? As the bat made contact, she felt an overwhelming force, like striking a heart filled with decay, sending shock waves through her body. The creature let out a bone-chilling scream that reverberated, shaking the walls. But then the light flickered, and for the briefest moment, she saw it. The fear reflected in Ben's eyes was eclipsed by something else, something darker coming through the shadows, something that felt like her own. Was this what she was becoming? The shadows coiled tighter, closing in, and Sarah felt their weight crush against her chest. She gripped the bat even tighter, drowning in indecision as deep laughter roared in her ears. The walls trembled, their laughter returning with a vengeance, taunting her as an unseen danger encroached from all sides. Would her love for Ben pull her through, or was the darkness truly irresistible? The ground shook beneath her, and just as her resolve reached its peak, she noticed a flickering light slipping from the corner of her eye. Was there another way out? But could she trust it? As the house hummed with dark energy, she took a deep breath, teetering at the precipice of choice, the shadows writhing hungrily around her. What awaited her beyond that light? The light shimmered, barely illuminating the breadth of the room, but it beckoned her with an insistence she couldn't ignore. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, splitting the silence like a hammer on glass. Should she take a step toward the light, or would it pull her deeper into the creature's web? In that moment, the shadows shifted again, forming tendrils that slithered menacingly toward her. The palpable darkness coiled tighter, desperate to snuff out the little glow. She clenched her teeth, gripping the bat like a lifeline, ready to attack or defend against whatever might come next. "Mommy!" Ben's voice resonated through the air, wavering with a hint of desperation. It echoed off the walls, entwined with the frigid laughter that surrounded her. Each call was weighted, hanging dangerously in the air as if he were right there, just beyond the veil of darkness. "Hold on, Ben. I'm coming." The ferocity behind her words surprised even her. She turned again toward the glimmer, and with every step, the darkness recoiled just slightly, exhaling a malevolent hiss. But the creature remained, clawing its way closer, its form overshadowing the flickering light. Shadows spun faster, breaking into jagged edges that sliced through her senses. The laughter crescendoed, growing deafening, a wild symphony that blurred her thoughts. Sarah felt her resolve falter. Was she truly strong enough to break this cycle? As doubts flooded her mind, something brushed against her leg, cold and clammy. She gasped, swinging the bat wildly, her breath coming in ragged bursts. "Please, don't." A voice whimpered, mingling with the shadows. It was different from the others, fragile. "Don't destroy us." Chilled to her core, she hesitated, eyes darting across the room. Was it another lost child, trapped yet again in this nightmare? The realization sent a new wave of fear crashing into her. What if this house was filled with echoes of those who had come before? Was Ben among them, already lost to its grip? "Stay away from me," she yelled, the command bellowing from her throat as she threw the bat forward. The wood clattered against the floor with a gut-wrenching thud. But as she broke her connection to her weapon, the shadows lunged forward like a pack of wolves seizing their prey. Sarah stumbled back, her heart racing, scrambling to grasp the vial of mystery around the creature's neck. Her fingers brushed against the cold glass. A momentary jolt of electricity surged through her. It seemed to pulse with memories, echoes of laughter, cries, desperation, hope. In that instant, she realized it wasn't just a vessel. It was a key. A key to a door. She didn't yet understand the door that led to the truth of where they all belonged. Ben, I want to let it take you, she whispered fiercely, summoning every ounce of courage as she pulled the vial closer to her, thrusting it towards the creature against her better judgment. A sudden hush enveloped the air, drawing in every breath as if the universe itself paused. The glowing eyes of the creature focused intently on her, unblinking. And then, with a feral growl, the shadows spiraled outward, arcs of darkness splintering and collapsing upon themselves. The vibrating energy throbbed, and Sarah felt it both a connection and a disconnect, the razor's edge of a choice that could either save or damn them all. As the shadows pulled back, revealing swaths of the room, her gaze locked on the flickering light, now brighter and more vibrant. It flickered like a heartbeat, pulsing in sync with the whispers that transformed into rhythmic chants, a combination of fear and longing. Beneath it all, she saw faces. Lost faces, shimmering within the bulb's glow. They watched her, pleading, and somewhere among them was Ben, steady and bright as the morning sun. "Mommy, don't listen," he called again, fear painting his words. But the shadow that had encroached began to reshape, warping into something more sinister, more relentless. The flicker of hope was fading, energy zipping around her like a living thing. What would she choose? With the shadows closing in and the creature's breath hot against her skin, she had only moments left, moments to decide. Could she reach Ben before it was too late? The flickering light throbbed, as if sensing her turmoil. There was a way, but did she dare to follow it? Time crackled in the air like static, and with a dying breath, she lunged toward the light, uncertain of what awaited her on the other side. Would she find a way out, or would darkness swallow her whole? Sarah hurtled towards the light, her heart a frantic drum in her chest. The world around her seemed to twist, gravity intensifying with every stride she took. The glow called her like a lighthouse to a shipwrecked sailor, promising rescue while the shadows snickered and lunged behind her. With a surge of adrenaline, she crashed into the light's perimeter. The warmth enveloped her, and for a fleeting second, hope blossomed. But the faces surrounding her flickered, their smiles not of welcome, but of desperation. "Help us," they whispered, voices layered with anguish, turning sweet invitations into haunting demands. The light pulsed, quickening and darkening in their wake. Panic surged anew. "Ben, where are you?" she shrieked, the echo blending with the monstrous laughter that ricocheted off unseen walls. Her hands trembled, grasping at the light, searching for a way to make contact, a way to pull him through. Suddenly, the vial she had been clutching flared to life in her grip. Cold flames danced across its surface, illuminating the faces once more, shifting them from shadows to somber silhouettes. Each one a child, a victim. Panic clawed at her throat. Was this what she would become? As the shadows coiled tighter, a scream erupted from her, a primal sound fueled by despair. "Let him go? You can't have him." The laughter turned a vicious pitch, the shadows writhing around her shoulders, whispering promises eroded by the years of loss that sank deeper than her fear. They fanned out, exposing parts of the room she had never seen, revealing tattered remnants of lives that had once danced in the light. "Don't trust her," a voice rippled through. A child, smaller than Ben, with eyes wide and wild. "She will trap you." "Shut up," another shadow yelled back, coiling protectively around Sarah. "You're just scared. She could free us." "Free you? Or destroy us all?" The first child roared, a pain in their voice only children could express. They all reached out to her, erratic fingers stretching, grasping for an answer that felt just out of reach. In that chaos, a whispered secret slipped into her ears, hiding beneath the noise. One life for another. It hung in the air, heavy and electric, brain freeze settling in as her eyes darted between the swirling chaos and that shimmering vial. What did that mean? "Choose." The shadows screamed. They lunged at her, coiling around her legs, dragging her down. The light's promise dimmed, flickering like a dying star. "Who do you want more? Your son? Or yourself?" Sarah's breath caught, ice cold. Her heart sank into her stomach. The choice felt like a knife pressing against her spine, as another wave of shadows howled around her, swarming like angry bees. "Mommy." Ben's voice resonated one last time, solid through the chaos. She could almost see him under the layered light, pulsing with warmth. She felt the bond a tether between mother and child, thick with unbreakable love. She took a deep breath, leaning into the light, remembering the warmth of his laughter, the softness of his small hand in hers. "No," she screamed, stronger this time. "I will save you, Ben." The shadows reared back like a serpent stunned, and a rift opened beneath her feet. Time felt like it stopped as she lunged towards the twinkling warmth, twisting her body midair and reaching for her son's promise of safe embrace. But the darkness was smarter. It lashed out, reeling her back just as she touched the edge of hope, and then everything snapped. The room shuddered, collapsing into itself, shapes twisting into a vortex of terror. Sarah felt herself being pulled apart, every atom of her being yanked toward a million dire paths. Amidst the chaos, a scream pierced through the voice of her son. "Mommy, don't leave me." But the darkness roared, drowning out everything. Sarah's heart raced, the weight of promises weaving into a nightmare. What would she sacrifice to save him? Suddenly, she found herself staring into those glowing eyes, each flicker alive with malice. And that's when she understood. The choice was not hers alone to make. With a deafening crash, the shadows surged and swallowed the light. Would the choice still hold in the void where they were pulled? What remained of hope in a hollow world? The darkness was thick and suffocating. It pressed against her, crawling beneath her skin and choking the breath from her lungs. The last vestiges of the light were gone, leaving behind an oppressive void that whispered secrets she thought long buried. "Ben," she cried, but the sound barely escaped her lips. It was swallowed, devoured by the endless shadows. She felt the remnants of panic swirl inside her, tightening her throat. Had she really chosen to leap into this abyss, forsaking everything she held dear? Suddenly, a tremor rippled through the air, a heartbeat, faint but alive. She held on to that rhythm, freezing in the stillness, waiting for recognition. It pulsed again, and she could feel it beneath her feet, the chill of dread suspended in the dark. "Mommy?" Came the echo, a desperate call that froze Sarah in place. It was Ben. Her heart cracked open, releasing icy fragments that shattered against the darkness. Following the sound, she staggered forward, limbs heavy like lead. Each step drew her deeper into an unseen expanse of despair. The whispers from the shadows shifted, each one clawing for her attention, a cacophony of longing, loss, and agony. Sarah, a voice groaned, raw and tortured. "Help us!" It was one of the children from the light, a ghostly echo of innocence mixed with unbearable grief. "Ben!" she shouted into the blackness. Panic seized her chest. "Where are you?" "I'm coming." "You shouldn't have come," the voice hissed, barely audible above the soft whimpering that surrounded her. "It's a trap." "No," she screamed, desperation turning her voice to a frenzied pitch. "I want to leave him." A rush of cold air swept through the void, sending violent shivers across her skin. The whispers swelled, and a wave of shadows surged, drawing closer. They were not alone anymore. The darkness was alive, crawling with unseen eyes, pulsing like a heart waiting to devour. "Mommy!" Ben's voice erupted again, echoing in agony. "Help, Ben!" she called back, lurching into the swell of shadows, grasping in every direction. Fleeting tendrils of warmth brushed her fingertips before retreating into the cold. Each pulse that resonated carried fragments of laughter, memories smeared with anguish. "I'm here. Just hold on." The shadows thickened, a curtain draping heavy around her. She stumbled, losing her footing. It was like running in molasses, each movement slowed by the malignant force wrapping around her. "Choose. Choose." The voices repeated, a chorus of anguish overlapping into a terrifying rhythm. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, feeling her heart race. "Let him go? Take me instead." The shadows laughed, a guttural sound that reverberated with malice. "You do not know what you ask for." All at once, the pressure released, and Sarah was thrown backwards, tumbling into a heavy silence. She landed on something solid, not the cold ground, but a heavy surface, the warmth of it both alien and familiar. "Mom." A soft voice drifted through the murky haze, so tender it could snap the fraying threads of her sanity. "Ben." She lunged towards it, but the surface transformed, twisting beneath her hands. "Mommy, help." Fear turned to panic as the ground beneath her rippled and buckled. She reached out, but her fingers brushed only air, grasping at shadows that reformed into a distant horizon. Everything felt unreal, like a dream disintegrating at dawn. "Mom, please." The urgency in Ben's voice slammed against her soul, igniting every instinct to fight. With a surge of determination, she clawed back to her feet, heart pounding, drowning out the whispers trying to lead her into despair. She had come this far, there was no turning back now. But as she moved forward, the void wasn't empty anymore. Forms flickered at the corner of her vision, lost souls, trapped and tormented, each one reaching out with pleading eyes. "Save us," they begged, their soft cries wrapping around her, squeezing tighter. Sarah hesitated, a single thought clawing at her mind. Was it really them that needed saving, or was she being drawn into another illusion? She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of each choice pressing down on her. Would she risk everything for her son? Or would she become just another lost whisper in the dark? In that moment of reflection, shadows surged again, forming walls that boxed her in, pulsing with hungry anticipation. "Choose," they hissed, their breath an icy wind dancing around her. In the depths of terror, she knew one thing for certain. The real choice was still waiting, lurking deeper than she ever imagined. What awaited her beyond the threshold of despair? Would she face the truth or become part of the darkness forever? In that moment, everything clicked for Sarah. The shadows weren't just phantoms. They were echoes of lost souls yearning for freedom. The weight of despair settled on her chest like a boulder, but amidst that darkness, something shone bright, a mother's love. The thought of Ben sunk deep within her own essence, anchoring her amidst the chaos. "Ben," she shouted, her voice challenging the silence that pressed against her from all sides. "I'm coming to get you. I won't let this place take you." With renewed determination, Sarah plunged forward, pushing through the pulsating shadows that clawed at her, desperate to back away. Each step brought clarity. She wouldn't allow fear to imprison her or her son, because they were strong together, tethered by love that surged like a fierce river. The swirling darkness hissed around her, growing more ferocious. Those twisted faces clawing for her attention twisted into painful memories. But she turned from them, ignoring their cries as a single vision raced through her. Ben's laughter filling the sunny garden, his tiny fingers gripping hers, the warmth of his innocent heart. "Mommy?" came Ben's voice again, clearer now, piercing through the shadows. "Please, help. Hang on, baby. Just hold on," she cried, her breath a fierce chant echoing alongside the shadows. Suddenly, the darkness split. She spotted flickers of light in the distance, tiny sparks illuminating a path through the grim. She sprinted toward them, fueled by obligation and cosmic urgency. Her heart raced as the oppressive weight began to dissipate, each step driven by fierce purpose. "Just a little further, Ben," she urged, determination coiling in her chest. But with every movement, darkness lashed out, grappling for her, seeking to drag her back to despair. Then came Ben's frightened scream, louder and more desperate than before. It reverberated through the infinite void, pulling at her heartstrings like a thread unraveling. "Mom, I can't see you. I'm scared." The realization struck like a lightning bolt. The shadows didn't just embody lost souls. They fed off fear. Venturing further might cut through their grasp. "I'm coming," she yelled, stripping her voice free from fear. "I'm your mother, and I will not leave you." With that affirmation, she plunged headfirst into the radiant light. It engulfed her in an intoxicating warmth, swirling around her, igniting fragments of her spirit. Time lost meaning as she barreled through an expanse of colors, evocative greens, surprising yellows, and shades of blue that soothed her soul. In a blink, she emerged from the swirling colors, her body trembling as reality dumped her onto a solid ground, her living room. The familiar surroundings soothed her nerves, and the heavy shadows retreated with a hiss, losing the battles that had drawn them closer. "Ben?" she called hoarsely. A flicker danced along the edge of her vision. "Mommy." Ben's voice thrummed through the still air, and there he was, the very image of her heart. Small but steady, standing in front of her with eyes wide and tear-stained. Relief crashed into her like a tidal wave. She enveloped him in a fierce hug, warmth enveloping her like a soothing blanket. "I thought I lost you." She held him tightly, feeling his heartbeat synchronize with hers. The house seemed to exhale, shadow shapes dissipating along the walls, no longer the suffocating embers of fear. It was scary, Mom, Ben admitted with a tremor, burying his face against her shoulder. I know, she soothed, her heart swelling with renewed life. You were so brave. Dread pushed back against her consciousness, whispering sweet nothings of despair. She redirected her focus, grounding herself in the warmth of Ben's embrace. The house, once alive with terror, felt lighter, echoes of despair dissipating like clouds chasing sunlight. But as the last remnants of shadows edged out, a voice called from the depths, full of malice. You may have won this round, Sarah, but I will find you. You cannot hide. Chills danced up her spine, and she took a step back, clutching Ben tighter. No, she declared, her voice unwavering. You have no power over us. You will never hurt my family again. The shadows screeched, an agonizing crescendo as they retreated into the cracks of the walls, streaming out like terrible memories. Sarah felt a moment of triumph, the victory brimming like sunlight after a storm. Well, looks like it's just you and me now, she whispered, gazing deeply into Ben's eyes, that innocent spark illuminating her world. They stood firmly together, hearts beating in resolute unity. They were home again, and this time it felt safe. With love anchoring their path, darkness had no chance. Human bonds could conquer any evil, even the shadows whispered of. The battle was won, but the war was never ending. The door to the unknown remained ajar, and they would always keep each other close. Together, they were unstoppable. And as the moon settled in the sky, Sarah smiled, knowing she'd forever protect the light growing within their hearts. Now, as our story draws to a close, don't you want to be part of the adventure to come? You need to subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button immediately so you don't miss the next spine-tingling tales. Smash that like button now. Your support helps keep this channel alive and thriving. Also, flood the comments section with your thoughts and your wildest theories about this ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see how this story wrapped up. Act now. True fans understand the importance of lifting each other up through every chilling journey we take together.